Hello, welcome everyone. I'm Biggest Bennus. This is Jetstreamers, and well, let me go and give you a little spiel here. Welcome to everyone on board today. It is January the 25th, 2021, and today we're flying from Istanbul, Turkey, to the stunning Amasya. I actually googled how to pronounce it. Amasya, which is another city across the north of the country in the Black Sea region of Turkey. This is the first time we've ever had a flight that didn't cross over any borders. But after researching Amasya, it seems to be a beautiful place. And apparently my camera is broken. So this is a great start already. Okay, well, maybe a deactivate and a reactivate. Will that work? It does work. There we are.
Sometimes that's all. There you go.
Perfect. Just turn it off and on again. You know, the amount of times that actually works is surprising.
Far too often.
As you can hear, our co-pilot today is the one and the only. Everyone here knows them, but here they are. It's the one and the only JeffBrutlag, who is a variety streamer and a writer from the US. And in just a few moments, we'll be taking off. Let me just adjust our audio levels so that we can all hear everybody perfectly. But we're going to dim the lights and get ready for takeoff. Buckle up. And just remember, in case of an emergency, you are in a metal tube being shot through the sky. So good luck. Welcome, Jeff. Are you a nervous flyer or are you okay?
Oh gosh, no. I've been on planes several times, so like it's all just a process for me. It's just like, I'm here. We're taking off. It's fine. I've sat next to people who get really scared, and I'm like, you're gonna be fine. I promise.
Oh, you're the opposite. So you're the one that keeps people calm.
Yeah, I try my best.
And the anticipation of flying, I get really nervous. And then when I sit on the plane, I'm like, oh, this is great. I can't wait. In 2 hours, I'm going to be somewhere exciting or wherever.
Mm-hmm. So nice.
And right now, this is the actual safest place as we're just about to take off. This is the safest type of flight you will have, because Jeff and I, we are on the same flight, but we're thousands and thousands of miles apart. So, stay safe, people. Socially distance.
Socially distanced from 1,000 miles apart.
Exactly. On the same plane. It's weird. Welcome, Jeff. Have you ever been to Turkey?
I have not. Oh my gosh. I don't think I've actually been to any countries in like the European area.
Yeah?
Now that I think about it.
1 second. Brilliant. This is one of the reasons why I'm really looking forward to getting a second PC soon, because right now everything just keeps changing on my screen, but it's all going now.
No.
Don't worry, we haven't crashed. But yeah, this is Jetstreamers, where we're doing a round the world trip. We started off in Cardiff months and months ago, and we were eventually going to arrive back there at some point, probably in about 3 years, who knows, especially when we go over the US. And also, Jeff, you are the last person on, I would say, phase 1 of this, because there is going to be a pause of a few months while a new PC gets delivered. So in future, the graphics will be even better. But you're the end of phase 1, and and also, I'm hopefully in future going to be introducing some panels as well. So,
ooh, that'd be really exciting.
I was about to say, yeah, we'll have to bring some people back. But anyway, let's start at the very, very beginning. Why did you decide one day that you wanted to stream?
Well, I was originally doing content on YouTube actually, and it was great to learn like the whole process of cutting together a video and trying to make content through there. It wasn't really getting the kind of engagement that I wanted out of content creation. And Twitch streaming had always been something that appealed to me because I knew it was so heavily related to gaming, and I'd been gaming since I was like 5 years old. So I was like, I never had the hardware quite to do it, but once I realized like I actually could, because I had my PS4, I was like, let's just boot up a stream and try it. So I had a couple friends there that were watching, and then after my first stream, which was Resident Evil 7.
Okay, good game.
One of my friends who had been on Twitch like since almost the very beginning, she was like, I think you could do pretty well as streaming. So then I started making a regular schedule out of it, and now here we are.
What did you think of Resident Evil 7, streaming that?
I loved it. I really love horror games. I don't get super scared of them easily anymore. At that time, I was still kind of in like I need like a friend with me to play this with. So streaming it was that sense of like having somebody there with me to go through it. So it felt a little more comforting.
Have you played the Resident Evil Village demo yet?
No, but I'm planning on it this week because it looks stunning, and I can't wait to get stabbed in the face by a vampire lady.
It's brilliant. I posted that. I don't know if you saw it. I posted it on the TikTok because I've been told, it's a good idea to kind of spread things out over different socials. And I uploaded a TikTok of me getting stabbed in the face by the tall lady, and it's got over 21,000 views and stuff like that. It's weird. Like every now and again, I'll get a video, 300 views, 400 views. Then for some reason that one.
Yeah, nobody seems to really understand how the TikTok algorithm works.
Yeah.
So like they'll just be like, this one's gonna be great, and then it'll get like 200 plays, and you're like, well, okay.
Yeah, and then you just put another random one, 20,000. Yeah, it's interesting scrolling through some people's TikToks, and every now and again you'll see one that's just got like tens of thousands of views.
Yeah, and you're like, I just threw that one up there.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was gonna happen, but okay.
Brilliant. So, I mean, the big question is, why do you enjoy streaming?
Oh my goodness. It's I mean, the answer that everyone says is the community, and I can't not say that because it is one of my favorite parts about it. I think with Twitch you have such an access to so many different people. I mean, like you're on the other side of the freaking world. So like without streaming I wouldn't have met so many people across the globe that are so just amazing, and learning from their experiences and creating a safe space where they can talk about those experiences, I think is absolutely wonderful. And then on like the bare like content side of it, it's kind of nice to just have a shared experience with people, whether it's through a game that you've played by yourself, like already that you have experience with, kind of sharing that with people, or if you're playing a game for the first time with people and maybe it's their first time seeing it. It's just nice to have that like shared experience with a live audience.
Yeah, and I suppose we are similar, and everyone that I've had on Jetstreamer so far has been similar because we have got a community, or we've built communities that we've streamed with. Whereas you see some streamers who are like maybe focused on esports or have these huge channels. I feel like there isn't a community there, or there's no, you can't be as personal as you can with our types of communities.
Yeah, sometimes it kind of feels like people are just kind of shouting into the void, and maybe there are some interactions that happen in there, and who knows. But yeah, no, like when it comes to like community-based streamers, I feel like the community really starts to take a life of its own. And what's nice is like you're the one that ended up being the person to curate that community by how you lead it.
Yeah. What do you find works for you with streaming? What kind of is your, if somebody were to come by and you'd never seen a JeffBrutlag stream before, what can they expect from you?
Extreme unapologetic gayness. We will talk about being gay at least once every 10 minutes. So that's not for you. Peace out. See you later.
Yeah.
But I think you can also just expect a lot of just shenanigans. I don't know if I can really put it another way. If we're playing a game that, I've never played before, it's just a lot of really dumb reactions to things, especially if it's horror games. I get super sarcastic at everything because that's my way of dealing with anxiety.
Yeah.
And also just like, when you look at it, horror is just kind of ridiculous. So I just tend to look at it and I'm just like, oh, this is gross and silly. So it's just a nice place where we kind of shoot the shit and have a nice cozy little hangout with each other.
What kind of horror games do you like? Do you find? Oh, we've lost a Jeff. Oh, we lost Jeff, but I'm sure Jeff will be coming back. Hope. But I was going to ask Jeff about what his. Oh, there we go.
Okay, that was
hello.
Weird. I like that it said it disconnected, even though nothing in my apartment did. It's like, okay, weird.
One second, let me go. I'll have to click record again. That's fine.
Oh,
That's
no
totally fine. There we go. So Jeff just went for a walk.
I just jumped out of the plane.
He pressed the eject button. No.
I'm out. Bye.
Yeah. Wandering through the wilderness of some like a nice Turkish mountain area.
It looked so beautiful, I couldn't help it.
Exactly. Wanted a closer look.
Exactly.
I was going to ask you what kind of horror games work best for you? Not like work best. Which ones do you enjoy? Because I'm very specific about my horror games. I do like them, but they like Resident Evil, new Resident Evil games, or ones that are kind of thrillers. I prefer, and they have to be really good. What kind of are you one that doesn't mind those that give you just cheap thrills, jump scares from every corner?
Honestly, I'm not super picky with my horror. I'll really try most things. I really really enjoy like my favorite horror games are the Silent Hill series, because it's so deeply psychological and atmospheric, and there's just like it's not so much horror, like it's not so much terror, which is is things coming out at you and scaring you and like giving you that like big reaction, but more so things that like last with you that are just so disturbing.
Yeah.
But I really do kind of like the one time I did stream Five Nights at Freddy's. Like I had a fun time with it because it's like it's so you're waiting for something to happen. You know it's coming. Like I have fun with that because like everyone who's watching like knows it's coming. Like just gonna get scared out of their damn mind, and I do every single time because like jump scares will get me, but like blood and guts and like intestines all over the place, I'm like, that's gross, and I just walk away.
Yeah. I've never played that, but I know it's in VR, and I do have two VR headsets. I'm like, do I want to play that
No,
in
no.
VR?
No. I will
Probably.
stay happily away from that in VR.
That's actually what I did with Final Fantasy, Resident Evil 7. I played in VR, and that was
Ooh.
terrifying. But it was like one of those experiences, when you play a 3D game for the first time, or you're playing. It was just such a wild new experience that it lasted with me. And after about, I know it's a while, but after about 2 hours, it's not as scary. You just get used to it. So those 2 hours are absolutely terrifying and enjoyable, and then it's just enjoyable. But also it helped as well. I think Resident Evil 7 wasn't that scary later on.
Yeah, I feel like the Resident Evil games tend to follow that, where like it gets very like dark and scary and like kind of like builds your intrigue in the beginning, and then the last half of it is just like a dark action movie.
Yeah, that's what I found so far as well. Yeah. So how did you find streaming at the start when you were playing Resident Evil 7 right at the beginning? Obviously, and your community was. Did you say so? You were doing YouTube videos, and we actually have a question from Ed later about your YouTube series. Did you manage to bring a lot of those people across to Twitch, or were you like starting from the ground up?
I think the people who showed up regularly to start, I think were already somewhat active on Twitch. So I'm not sure if necessarily that I like brought anyone on there, but I definitely the first games I started playing were more along the lines of kind of scarier, darker themes. I think the next game I played after that was the Walking Dead Telltale series.
Okay.
And so that's definitely what I started with, and it was interesting because I don't like. It was nice to see that there were people, when you're starting out streaming, it was nice to see that there are people who want to come into somebody who's just starting, that are doing kind of more like heavily story-driven games because, someone who started on Twitch, I knew that like things like Overwatch and, I think at the time PUBG was like one of the bigger things too.
That's what I started streaming when I started.
Right.
Saturated.
So like there's a lot of things where like there's not necessarily like a heavy story and like it's just kind of repetitive and kind of like not necessarily predictable, but like things in a way where like different things could happen within the match, but it's not like one big story to follow. It was nice to see that like there was an audience for the kind of games that I wanted to stream.
Yeah, and do you find as well that more people can find you that way as well? Were they quite saturated? I mean, Walking Dead was quite popular at the time, wasn't it?
I think so. I think there was new content coming out for it at the time. So yeah, I guess as far as like the whole like oversaturation bit, it wasn't as much of a thing. I think I noticed that's like during the beginning. I think was like when I started noticing the tendency for, especially when like bigger games get released where people don't want it spoiled.
Yeah.
I think that's where I started to be like, oh, like this can definitely be like a double-edged sword where it's like, people don't want to get spoiled for this reason, but also like it's literally has just come out. So like that could also be a bit of a struggle for myself.
I got a question from Ed. I'm gonna have it now. Before he said, just started off on YouTube. How did YouTube influence your style of streaming? Did it?
I think the biggest thing that it did was actually help me be comfortable on camera. Just being able to talk. Because I notice a lot of people who do start streaming have never really done anything on camera before. So you can tell that they're trying to get used to like the live aspect of it while also getting used to having just their face on camera.
Yeah.
So I think for me, it really gave me comfortability to just be able to just kind of riff off of like something that might be happening in the game that we're playing, or if people in chat might just be kind of like getting a little sleepy. Like if I need to find a way to like start the conversation again, or like I can just talk in a way that's not necessarily like weird because I don't like feel awkward trying to like talk to myself in a room.
Yeah. What have you learned along the way? Because how long have you been streaming now on Twitch?
Gosh, almost 4 years. I think I started I started regularly streaming in March of 2017.
We almost the same. I was January 2017.
Wow, whoa.
Yeah.
Wild.
And then when we both got partnered last year as well.
Yeah.
So
Claps for both
our
of us.
journeys together, very linked. What have you learned along the way? So obviously, yeah, you've been streaming for, nearly 4 years. What have you learned along the way that you wish you'd known when you first started streaming?
Oh my gosh. I think this isn't something I always like think about. Because I think it still feels so fun. So I think one of my biggest lessons for anybody would just be to have fun with it. Like I think a lot of us when it comes to content creation tend to get a little too focused on the details and like how it needs to look exactly. But honestly, what I found is that, if you have fun with it, people are going to have fun with it too. So I think that's, one of the biggest things I would have told myself starting with it, because I had such anxieties about whether or not people were even going to like what I was doing. So, and I still did. I still have that almost 4 years later. So
have you like changed the type of games that you play, or have you like the way that you did everything at the start? Is that the same as how you do it now?
What's funny is actually when I first started, I feel like I was less strict about the type of games I chose. So I think as I've started streaming longer and getting to know the sort of the what's the word I'm thinking for, but like just kind of how Twitch works as like its own sort of society in a way, and the type of games that people will come and watch. As I've grown as a streamer, I've started to have to think of like the intersection of like what I want to play versus like what people are actually going to want to come and watch.
Yeah.
Because like I think when I was first streaming and I didn't have to take it like as seriously as like now when I'm full-time streaming is, I was like, oh, I'm just going to play this game because I'm interested and it sounds great. But nowadays, like if I just want to do that, it's like, oh, well, there might not be an audience for that. Like my community might not want to watch that. So now it becomes there's definitely a lot more work in the sense where it's like gauging the interest of my community when it comes to the content I want to do.
Yeah. No, definitely, especially if you're, because how many hours a day do you stream?
Typically around 5 to 5.5, sometimes 6 if we're making some really good progress in the game.
Yeah, and what game are you playing right now?
The biggest game we've been hitting is Hades.
Yeah, I saw a comment in the chat earlier saying, when I asked you what to expect from your chat, we had thirsting over attractive guys in Hades. Called out.
Yeah.
Don't think you were alone.
It's been a lot. Like literally every god in that game is.
Yeah, they knew what they were doing. They knew their audience. Have you beaten it yet? Have you escaped?
No. Mild spoiler alert. Apparently you have to do like a certain amount of clears before you completely finish the story. So I have not. I'm like a little over halfway.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't escaped. I got the game in 2018, I think it was, when it was at early access, and I keep going and playing a few runs and then stop for a bit and then have to relearn all the controls. It's
fun, you know what, and that I feel like the game makes it easy on you to be able to just jump right back into it, though.
Yeah, I at first I was a bit kind of confused for a second, but I realized it's just like maybe one run. Let's do one run, and then you get the controls back, and then the rest ones are pretty good.
Pretty much.
There's some guy in his Minotaur who really just destroyed me last time and put me off it.
Oh, so what was it? Somebody called him. the garbage himbo recently. I was
Garbage
watching
himbo.
somebody garbage himbo and the Minotaur, and I was like, yep, makes sense.
I couldn't remember his name. I said Jesus and the Bull. I think he was because I couldn't
There
remember.
you
It's
go.
something similar. Similar
That's
to that.
fine too.
Ed, by the way, just says in the chat, Dionysus has thighs.
Listen, you know what's funny is like when I first saw him is that's where my eyes first went. I
Yeah.
just went right to the thighs. I was like, oh, hello.
Crush your neck. Anyway,
Mm,
do you have any advice then for people? So obviously, talking back to you, when you first started, you said you'd just tell yourself to have fun. What
mm.
advice would you give to people starting on Twitch now?
Um, I would definitely tell people definitely not to take it too seriously. I think a lot of people want to get a lot of things right, and they see the streamers that they're watching and want to be, take influence from them. But no matter what kind of streamer you're going to be, it's going to be you. So people are going to want to watch for you, more so than, you know, all the bells and whistles that you're putting on your stream. So I would say just use what you have right now.
Mm.
Um, just start up a stream and see if you even like it. I think a lot of people try to put a lot of these eggs in like a streaming basket and try to get it all right before they even hit go live. And it's like honestly, just fine. Just push the go live button, see if you even like it. If you like it, go from there.
Yeah.
Because then you'll have more fun with the actual setting up of the stream before you even decide to start.
Yeah, if you don't necessarily have a community or know so many people and you're spending ages setting it all up and then you go live and one person tunes in, it might be a bit disheartening, won't it?
Yeah, I think putting in all that work just to like be like, oh, only this, people didn't really show up. Like that's still great as
Yeah.
like someone who just started a stream. Also, but I also would definitely say if you're someone who wants to grow with streaming, get social media and be active on it.
Yes. Okay, yeah, that was a kind of a follow-up kind of question I was thinking of is how would you recommend people grow up or grow a community? Because you've got a very close one.
Yeah, definitely. I think when you're first starting out, grab some friends like who like gaming or who are on Twitch and let them know that you're going to be streaming. That way you can at least have a start and have the beginnings of an active community.
Mm.
But I think from there also start interacting with people on social media. Um, Interact with other streamers you like. Start talking about games that you like and the fact that you're even going to be streaming. Um, I think people being able to see that sort of human side to you and see your excitement for video games or whatever content you may be making on Twitch, I think that's a really good gateway for people to want to come and watch you in the first place.
Yeah. Michael says that his first month was zero point 0.6 average viewers. It takes time. It does.
It does.
Yeah. Also, I recommend always have a dashboard open with the image and a tab. I remember when I first started out, that gives you 2 extra views.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Oh, yeah. Well, I remember, yeah, there would be one person in the chat, but I would have 3 viewers because I had the stream preview open and a tab.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Give yourself an extra. And also you can then, and the extra tab also gives you, you can go and check if the chat for some reason disappears or things like that.
Well, hey, anyone trying to get affiliate, that's actually really good info.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, the bare minimum for affiliate, like, it's really not that hard if you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Just get your parents, give them a call to get them to watch
Yeah.
it. So going on to like as an LGBTQIA plus streamer, how do you find streaming as somebody openly gay?
For me, it hasn't. If there's been anything, any challenges, I haven't necessarily noticed them. I mean, there's the obvious trolling that you get, people coming in, but I think for me, someone who's been on the internet and been creating content for a while, that doesn't bother me anymore because I know it's going to happen. Should it be happening? Of course not. But I, I've come to expect it, and it honestly just rolls right off. Troll can come up with the most disgusting, heinous thing to say about me, and I'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
sorry that you're so sad that you're gonna just come in and try to ruin someone else's day. But
Yeah.
I think honestly, really the only challenge is sometimes seeing that there's definitely less of an audience I can have simply because I'm in the LGBTQIA community. So if I notice my thoughts kind of get around that, sense of, there are going to be a bunch of people who won't even click on my stream,
Mm.
and there's this whole untapped audience that I don't have because of that. Um, is a little it's hard to hear. I think it's definitely more of a societal issue, and attitudes around that when it comes to gaming more so than anything else. But I think that can hit a little hard sometimes. But it's so nice to know that there is such a whole supportive
Yeah.
group of people within the LGBTQIA community, and a whole bunch of even allies too that I've come to know over the years that have really supportive communities.
And you think as well, like the opposite happens? There are some people who will only click on the LGBTQIA tag
That's
because
true.
they'll feel
Yeah, and
protected there.
yeah, which I think is great, because I think we need more spaces where people can feel like that, just feel safe.
Yeah. Yeah, in the chat, just seen a couple of people saying they only click on the LGBT tag. But also, there are plenty of like non-LGBT people who will check out that tag because they know it's going to be a place where it's not just going to be, well, hopefully not full of toxicity.
Right.
Although it's not policed, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, yeah. But no, I mean, it's a good point to know that, at least you can hope that if you're clicking on a stream with that LGBTQIA plus tag on there, that are someone, even if it's a straight person using it, which is a whole different discussion.
Yeah.
There's at least somewhat of a cognizance of, I'm somewhat aware of the issues here, and there's not going to be any toxicity, hopefully, knock on wood, related to that.
You'd hope. Yeah, I saw that's come around again on Twitter. I think Ally is using the tag. I don't even think it's every 6 months. It's like every 2.5.
It's getting a little more frequent.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And I wish
they need to change that little sub thing when you hover over it when they say it's for allies as well.
to just saying that it's for the community. I agree.
Because that excuse doesn't listen to people.
Yep.
That's what they need to do. Like trans tag. Listen to trans people. Do they want the tag?
Yep. I think it's absolutely it's just the audacity for a company, like, to be able to say that, this is what we think is best for a community that we don't speak for is very telling.
And it's not the first time.
Yeah.
It sure won't be the last. So I've got a question, like, what do you like best about streaming? You said community, but maybe what about actually streaming games? Is there anything that you like particularly that maybe you haven't mentioned already that you like about streaming? Because you do quite a lot of just chatting as well, don't you?
Yeah, so I always start my streams with chatting for, at the minimum, an hour, because I like to have just a set amount of time where all I'm doing is conversing with people who come by.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely the part that I enjoy the most. But when it comes to the actual games that I play, I think I honestly just like seeing, different types of games, and I like getting to have my own commentary on it. I think in like my wildest of dreams, like I'd always wanted to be like some sort of like talk show host. Like sometimes when I think like, it wouldn't it be cool if I just like had my own like show where I just react to things all the time. And I think just like getting to like have this commentary, and I'm also someone who looks into like sort of like the rhetoric of like storytelling and whatnot in games, and how games tell a story. So honestly, when like games have different methods of storytelling, I love making comments on it and like getting into like a deep dive of how, especially when it comes to like queer representation in games, getting to have discussions around that and talking about, how it's great and how it can be improved, and getting more insight from a community of people, that identify differently from me is, I think, one of the best things about streaming, especially as a queer streamer.
As Blessed of Time says, I would watch a Jeff talk show.
Love to hear it.
And yeah, it's out in the universe now. People are wanting the JeffBrutlag show.
Well, guess we're gonna have to start I was gonna say storyboarding, but that's not quite the word for that.
Yeah.
We'll have to start brainstorming for that.
Get that planning done. Okay, now moving on to the social media and like your activism, not Activision, and writing. A lot of people listening like probably follow you on Twitter, or I've seen your tweets often retweeted. As someone who uses their platform to speak out on social issues. Do you think this is important?
I would say yes. I think if you're not actually going to use your own words to speak out on it, I think at least keeping a lookout for people who are speaking out on this and lifting up their voices, I think can still say a lot about how you use your platform because especially um, when we're in such a time where uh, there are attitudes out there that can threaten your safety, uh, I think being able to say like, "Hey, this is how I feel about this thing that happened," can be such a signifier for um, your potential audience to be like, "Oh, hey, I will be safe with that person." Like, especially when the Black Lives Matter protests started coming back up, uh, just seeing somebody just speak out about that, genuinely. I'm sure a lot of people could have been performative, just to get new audience members, and if that's what you were doing,
We want
be better.
Yeah.
But I think getting to see like that you speak out against any sort of kind of bigotry, I think really lets people know like this is going to be a place where I don't have to think about whether or not I'm going to be the target of any sort of bigotry, or I'm just not going to have that. I'm not going to have to be on guard here.
How has it been effective for you then? Do you think it is effective? People calling out on Twitter?
You know what? I would say yes, because there have been a lot of people, sort of signaling like, oh my God, I'm losing so many followers because I'm speaking out on this. And it's like, well, then you're taking out the trash.
Yeah.
Like, why weren't you doing this to start, So I would say that it does work because we see the actual effects of speaking out, which means people are, who don't want to hear these things, who don't want to have to think about it, who might be the kind of people who do speak and step over those lines and make people feel unsafe, are being ostracized and honestly good.
Yeah.
Like, learn to be a better person.
And you have a big following, you have a big community. If somebody is kind of unsure or doesn't know anything about those issues, them seeing you speak out on it can influence them a lot.
I absolutely agree. And I think a lot of people feel the pressure to get it right all the time. Like, they see people speak out and they think, oh, I don't have the eloquence or the ability to just like share my opinions like that thoughtfully. And you don't have to get it right immediately. Like, nobody's gonna like drag you through the mud if you like get a little tiny thing wrong when you're speaking out with these things. But I think just it's a matter of just simply saying like what you believe in and standing up for that.
And yeah, raise other voices. So for example, like when it was the Black Lives Matter movement, I maybe posted one or two things, but I was making sure retweeting others, giving voices to those who are maybe have smaller followings or people who can talk about it from experience.
Yeah,
I think that's just as important.
Yes.
But like, what do you say to those people then who think that speaking out, and in support of causes but they want to do it, but they worry that their platform's too small because they think, oh, you know what, no one's going to see it. Why should I?
Because you never know who's watching. Twitter is such a big world, and Twitch is such a big world. You don't necessarily know, like at all times, who's looking at your tweets, who's watching your streams, who's looking at any kind of content you're putting out there. So you may only have, say you only have 25 followers on Twitter. That's still 25 people who potentially identify differently than you. So the chain reaction that could start from you speaking out could be much bigger than just 25 people. If your Twitter's not privated, the entirety of Twitter can be seeing your tweets. And that's a whole untapped audience you don't have of people who could see that tweet and be like, oh, this could be a streamer or a content creator I'm interested in. And to see that they stand up for these things makes me more likely to want to support their content.
Oh, I agree with you there. And what's the best experience that you've had on Twitter? Whether through your speaking out on social issues or just in general? Do you have a moment that you can think of or an experience you've had?
You know, I feel like there was like a tweet that I put out where it was really nice to see. You know, I did tweet about the LGBTQIA tag um, a couple years ago. Um, and it was really nice to see. It did create a lot of discourse. There were
Mm.
definitely a lot of people that were like, "You're gatekeeping," blah blah blah, and I'm like, "Oh my god, whatever."
Yeah.
But it was nice to see how many people and how many circles around other LGBTQIA streamers were, you know, either thinking about this or, um, you know, felt similarly. It was nice to, you know, see just how big that opinion spread and how many people, you know, maybe didn't know how to bring it up,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, could see someone else and someone else speak their mind on it
Yeah.
and say, "Oh, hey, that is how I feel. I've just been waiting for someone to say that." Uh, and it was nice to see the other conversations that came around it. That you know, like people who are bisexual but maybe in like in a hetero presenting relationship that felt like they couldn't use the tag. So it ended up not only was it you know just simply the discussion around straight people using the LGBTQIA tag, but it created so many conversations for within the queer community that I don't think like all of us are thinking about all the time.
I totally agree with you as well because I was actually, yeah, I remember it was a couple of years ago. I remember seeing that because I remember there was a friend of mine who I lost, didn't want to have anything to do with me because originally I was like, yeah, I don't know why we don't let allies use it, that's fine. And then I looked at people's opinions, read loads about it. Who knows? I probably read loads from that tweet of yours that came out, and saw exactly why I think it's a great idea to restrict it to just people of the LGBT community. And
Yeah.
that kind of stuff does change people's opinions because often you look at the replies of tweets and it's an absolute shit show. But sometimes you get a really cool debate and you see some really interesting replies. But
Yeah, for sure.
just avoid. Yeah, don't look too much. Is it called doom scrolling? Is that a thing?
You know, I've always heard that term, and I loosely know what it means, but I just always say don't look at the replies.
Yeah.
Just is it nothing good's gonna come from it.
The great thing is like with replies now, I think people that you follow, if they've replied to it, they'll be at the top. So as soon as you
Yeah.
start seeing replies that aren't from people you follow, stop.
Yep. There you go.
There you go. What? So like, what is the worst? I know this is probably going to be. You don't need to reply, but what is the worst experience that you've had on Twitter?
Ooh. There are definitely some people who feel obligated to comment on your appearance, I think.
Hmm.
I haven't necessarily had any like terrible experiences regarding like my identity. Like I've gotten a few like messages with people like saying just disgusting things like, and I'm like, you really took the time to click on the DM button and tell me something really homophobic because what?
Yeah.
Like you thought it was gonna do something.
Yeah. I'll just
But
be
you know,
straight from now on. That's yeah. You make
oh,
a
you
good
know, right?
point.
You're right. I never would have gotten here until this very moment. Thank you. But no, like, you know, I think when it comes to social media, like the beautiful thing about it is like you get to see so many different opinions, but also the downside is that you get to see so many different opinions. So like if I think the one time like that I got really in my head about something, it was like I posted a selfie and like someone was like, what did they say? It was still when I had like really long sideburns, and someone was just like, "Oh my god, please just shave those off. You look old," or something like that. And I was just like, "Oh no!" Like I got on my head so much. So like I think most of my experiences that are not okay on Twitter are like when people make comments that you know they really just shouldn't, you know, with things that you can't necessarily control.
Yeah. No, true. I've had comments on my appearance before, and I'm like, and they hurt because sometimes I look at it and go, "Yep, they're right." There's an element of truth in there, aren't they, too? Yeah,
Yeah,
do need to get a haircut.
but you know what? That's their problem, not yours.
Exactly.
That they're making that comment.
Yeah. speaking of LGBT tag, we just had a comment from Misbehaving in there. Said, I wish there was an ally tag so people knew it was a safe space. I know every place should be considered a safe space, but that's not the case right now. And I want people, LGBT community, to know that my stream is a safe place. How would you recommend then that somebody lets people know? Because it's great that you want people to know, but obviously, is a tag necessary or are there other ways?
I don't think a tag is necessary. Because I think the way tags work on Twitch, that does give allies a directory, that gives allies the word I want to use is platform. I don't know that necessarily tracks here, but there is a sense of discoverability that comes from that. I think if you, as an ally, really want to signify that your space is safe, there is work that you can do that is not just wearing a badge that says ally. I think a lot of people, say that, but you can do all the work. You can say that, and if you're not doing all the work, then it means nothing. So be putting in your rules that, all the specific kinds of hate speech you don't accept. Like, people will just say, like, don't be a dick. And it's like, okay, well, people sometimes think being homophobic isn't being a dick. Mm-hmm. No, actually sit there and say, no homophobia, no sexism, no transphobia, no, like, ableism. Like, sit there and, like, list out all the things you will not tolerate. Say what your community stands for as far as inclusivity. And if you have all those things there, people who want to feel safe in your community will see that and already know that they can be safe. You don't necessarily need to have a specific tag for that.
Yeah. Can't disagree with a single bit of that. And I think if you check out, I think it's Pleasantly Twisted. Mm-hmm. I think she just did a tweet, might have been yesterday actually, a tweet thread or the day before. Check that out. She had a really good argument about why an ally tag is unnecessary.
Yep. I anytime I see her tweet about it, I'm like, co-signed, yeah. Absolutely.
She's great. Mm-hmm. Okay. Right. So where am I looking? Here we go. So like stepping away from games and social media for a second, you are a published author.
That's it.
That's me. You've also written stories and opinion pieces that you publish on Medium. What do you enjoy most about writing, and what is next for author Jeff?
Ooh. I think what I enjoy most is how much more eloquent I am through writing than I am in like speaking, yeah. Which is funny because so many people are like, oh my God, you have such thoughtful opinions and like the way you say things is so intelligent. And I'm like, thanks, I guess. I don't feel like that, but I think the way I feel about my writing is my thoughts are so much more concise and clear.
Yeah.
So I feel better about expressing myself that way. And being able to tell a story, whether it's, about my own experiences or if it's about fictional characters that I've created, I think being able to tell a story and have a story that's something that people can take something away from, whether it's they resonate with it, like, oh my God, I've been in that position, whether they can learn something from it, or if they can just enjoy it, just be entertained by the simple like art of creating something with word. I think is really great to me. I have been working on a piece about non-binary, sort of like non-binary self-image, since I've recently kind of come to the conclusion that I'm on the non-binary spectrum. So I've been working on that. It's almost finished, so expect that soon.
Ooh, where will you be posting this?
Most likely I'll be posting it on my Medium account, but might because I feel like this piece could be important. I may look around to see if there are any other publications that might want it.
Fantastic. And will we ever see a conclusion to your story that you said that you wrote when you were high school, was it? Or the first thing that you wrote? You said there was a novel that you said probably won't ever see the light of day?
It will never see the light of day.
Oh, well.
I don't even think I have access to that file anymore. I would have to go deep into like my MacBook that I don't even use anymore to try and find it.
Oh, well, there we go.
Sorry about it.
It's all right. Follow Jeff's Medium. So there's lots and lots of articles on there. So let's look at gaming, Jeff. Can you remember
It's,
the first game that you ever played?
I'm trying to think. So I know my older brother had access to the original Game Boy, and he ended up leaving his Super Nintendo behind. And I also had a PS1, and it's hard to know like
Hmm.
which one of those came first
Yeah,
because they all kind of happened at the same time.
I'm
But
exactly
one
the
of the
same. It's like, yeah,
yeah,
the Game Boy and the PlayStation, I can't remember which one I played first.
right, because I remember like in school people were talking about Pokemon,
Mm.
and I know for sure like I had played something before that. I want to say like my first game ever was Final Fantasy VIII
That's
as
one of
like a
my
little
first
6 year
ones.
old.
That was one of my first as well.
No way!
Yeah. And then
I love that.
I got a save file corruption on the second disc, so I could never finish it, and I got angry and never played it again.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember I had a demo for it at first, and I remember playing that like over and over, and I loved it.
Yeah. I mean, Final Fantasy VIII is a first game that is a pretty solid one
Oh
to
yeah.
start off on.
Oh yeah.
Have you played any of the remake of it? Oh, well, the kind of the remaster.
The remaster. I did
Yeah.
a little bit. I realized, at least for me as a gamer, it aged poorly. I won't say that for like anyone else because I know a lot of people still really love that game, but
Mm.
I think as far as like the progression system in it and the dialogue
Yeah.
and the some aspects like that, I realized I don't love it as much as I did. It still like has an important piece in of nostalgia, like seeing everything about it.
Yeah.
Um, but no, getting to watch the remake where like all the main characters are very HD, but like the non-important characters are still very pixelated. I
Okay.
was
Yeah.
like, what's going on there? What happened to them?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't think I will replay 8. Although Ed
Yeah.
says 8 is amazing. I will not hear a word against it.
Listen, I'm not coming for anyone's favorite game. I'm not coming for it. I'm just saying personally for me, it has not aged well, and that's okay.
Also, Moni says, yeah, Annie's like, what's going on? Stop twinning. Also, as well, when you're talking about Super Nintendo, my sister left me her Super Nintendo for 2 weeks. Unfortunately, she came back after 2 weeks. So
Are we just like
I know we're like, we should never meet. I think it's one of those.
we're almost doppelgangers.
Yeah.
Oh no.
The world will end.
Oh no.
Okay, what game do you think you've put the most time into? Because you're playing Final Fantasy 14 now, and who knows? That I wonder if that'll end up being it. If it's not it
That
already.
will end up being it for sure, considering how many I've already put in.
Yeah.
But as of now, I believe it's Stardew Valley.
Okay.
Because I have about 250 plus hours on there. Which is honestly, it's a game that I never thought I was gonna like. Because I saw people play and I was like, oh, this looks nice and calming, and there's so much to do in it. And I never thought, but like I was like, I don't know if it's gonna be something I can like that will hold my attention for that long. And it turns out it held my attention for 250 plus hours.
Okay. That sounds dangerous. I'm possibly starting it soon as well. So.
Ooh, well, I think because you do a lot of Animal Crossing and have been able to stay engaged with it, I think you could potentially have a lot of fun with Stardew Valley as well.
I did a bit during the 24-hour stream, and I was like, "Oh, this is grabbing me. This is definitely grabbing me." And so I will definitely be looking to. Who did you romance?
First person I romanced was Elliot,
Okay.
because he's a writer, and I
Is he
had
the one
to
with the
see his
hair?
story playthrough. Yes,
Yeah.
as opposed to the one without the hair.
The
There is a
leather.
character that's bald, so that's
Ah. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to giving that a go on PC or Switch.
I first played it on Switch. I with PC, if you wanted to mod it or anything, the options there. And I find it to be actually a little. Actually, the control scheme is fairly the same on Switch, so I don't necessarily have a preference. But all the updates and stuff usually come to PC first, so I would say go PC if you have it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I have it on PC, Switch. I even have it on mobile. Because I was like,
nice.
I got a new mobile. I was like, oh, this is a new mobile. It's funky. I'm going to buy and download Stardew Valley, and then never played it.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize it was on mobile too. That's amazing.
Yeah. What are your top 3 games of all time?
Okay,
Including
Silent Hill
ones that
2.
might be great because of nostalgia. Because, you have that sometimes where you go back and you go, oops, this isn't the best.
Silent Hill 2 is always the one that comes to mind first. It's as far as like spookiness and like horror goes, it's one of my faves because the horror is so like even though there is a lot of like monstrous horror in it, like a lot of the really like terrifying and um, just really the things that last with you are more so like the stories of these characters as opposed to like the scary monsters you're seeing.
Mm.
Um,
Did you?
I loved. Go
So
ahead.
did you watch Silent Hill movie? Because apparently that's based on 2, isn't it? Or there's a lot of 2 involved in it.
They used some things from two, like they incorporated the big pyramid head. I know he was more of a feature in two than he was in one, but the actual story is almost a carbon copy from the first game.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we just got a raid from Nicholas Varge. Nicholas, thank you so much for the raid.
Hi, Nicholas.
Lovely, lovely guys. Nicholas, thank you so much for that. We are just talking about Jeff's top 3 games of all time. That was Silent Hill 2. What are your other 2?
The other one that always comes to mind is Until Dawn.
Oh.
I think as far as like horror games go, in general, that's like it hits so many things that I enjoy about gaming. Where like it's got like the suspense, it's got like things that like the choices, like you have no idea what's gonna happen if you make either of these choices. And as far as like a story playing all the way through, like I thought it worked so well. Like I would, if they made like a movie out of Until Dawn, like I'd be right there. That'd be like one of my ideal horror movies.
It was great. How many times have you played it? Have you done any?
3.
Okay. Yeah, I did it for the first time just over a year ago, and I was going so well. And then right at the end, it was like a massacre. Like about 3 people escaped.
Yeah, there are definitely some characters in there that have multiple ways they can die.
Yeah.
And it's scary.
And some of the opposite. There was I can't remember her name, but there was a very annoying person who I was like, you know what? They're about to die. I'm just going to let them die. And then they didn't.
Oh.
It was the helicopter bit, I believe. Or somebody, or maybe something fell. They fell and I let them fall.
Oh, yeah. And I know exactly who you're talking about because nobody likes her.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm fine. And then she appeared later. I'm like, oh dear. And then she was not only did she appear later, but she was very, very angry as well.
Of course.
I know. So upset. So upsetting. And what about your third favorite?
My third is actually it's an indie game that actually ended up getting a lot of attention, I feel. I absolutely wholeheartedly fell in love with Night in the Woods. And I actually I've been like really wanting to replay it, so I might do that soon. But I just think the way they the dialogue in it like is so natural and so like everyone's dialogue is so characteristic to them. The characters themselves all have like really, really unique, well-written stories, and it's equally cute and fun and like lighthearted as it is like punching you right in the gut with feelings. Like, so I just think it captures like so much of like the human experience, even though no character is actually human, in this like really cute minimalist package.
Yeah, I love Night in the Woods. One of my favorite games as well. I think it was my number 2 game of the year when it came out. And
Greg.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, for anybody like that's watching, beautiful queer representation as well.
Also, how many times have you played that? Because there's different playthroughs, because you can spend more time with one person in different playthroughs, so you can you get a little bit of variety as well.
Right. I ended up doing only one so far. I ended up focusing on the character of B a lot because there was like some instances of it that kind of like resonated with me with her story, so I wanted to see more of that.
Yeah.
But then when I realized that there's more to be seen if you go hang out with the other friends, that's why I want to replay it for sure. Yeah,
I think I stuck with Greg. Because he and his...
So silly.
But it's silly, but also he and his boyfriend's relationship and stuff as it progresses, so realistic. And it just, even though they're animals, it's so well written. Really is.
Love it. Oh my God. So good.
I fell in love like at the beginning when she goes through the woods to get home. And then her dad's like, oh, I thought you were back tomorrow. She's like, you thought wrong. Just,
God, she was such a fun character to follow.
yeah.
Like, just equally ridiculous as she is, just like a really well-rounded character.
Yeah. It was, oh, I love that game so much. In fact, yeah, I actually bought that on the Switch as well, so I can just
Nice.
goof around with it. Okay, now on to, oh no, this is actually my favorite question. This was Devon Bumpkin. This is the Devon Bumpkin question, because he was like, oh, do you fancy adding this to it? And I was like, oh my God, this is such a good one. What is your
Okay.
favorite game soundtrack?
Ooh. I've currently been listening to the Persona 4 soundtrack a lot.
Oh, okay.
And I'm leaning toward that being like pretty heavily my vibe.
Hmm.
Because it has a lot of like 90s influences. And it's very, I don't know how to describe it other than just it's my vibe. It's very like pop, like rocky kind of sort of
Hmm.
vibe to it, and it makes me feel hyped just listening
Okay.
to it. It makes me feel good.
I never played Persona 4.
But other than that, like most of the Final Fantasy soundtracks have been
Yeah.
stellar. Like there hasn't really been one where I'm like, that one could have been better.
Have you played the, well, you played Remake, right?
Yes.
Have
Oh my
you,
God.
that soundtrack was phenomenal, wasn't it?
Oh my God. They honestly like they modernized so many of like the soundtrack, like so many of the songs that I really liked in the original soundtrack and like made it so modern and relevant that I was just like, this is genius.
Yeah. When you saw Aerith for the first time and then just like the little hint of Aerith's theme
Hmm.
playing.
I could go on and on about how her rework is the most beautiful thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. I would love a PS5 update to that,
Ooh, that'd be great.
especially if they're releasing the second one on PS5. You'd think they might have a little
I would,
patch.
I would think so. But yeah, that'd be great.
Going on to games, well, I said what games are you currently playing now? So you, are there any other, so you're playing Hades. Are there any other
Mhm.
games? Because you said that was your main game. Are there any other ones that you're playing or picking up?
Have been doing a little bit of Persona 4, and that one's been fun because I had done Persona 5 first.
Okay.
So there's actually quite a difficulty jump if you go from 5 to 4.
Okay.
Because 5, I think they make a little easier for people who've never played the Persona games to kind of get more time to adjust to that.
Yeah.
Whereas Persona 4 is just like, here's how to do the game. Now fight and don't die. um,
Are you playing the
so
golden version? Because that just
yes,
came to Steam, right? Is that why?
yeah.
Okay.
I never thought I was going to be able to play it because I knew it was for Vita,
Yeah.
and I never. Vita was never something I was going to get because there were so few games on it that I would actually wanted that I was just like, I guess I'm not ever going to play it. So once it did come out on Steam, I was like, thank goodness.
I was, yeah, I remember I had a Vita and I had like, I only completed one game and it was the Uncharted one. And I played a little bit of the Gravity Rush, but I just remember Persona 4 Golden just was never on sale. It was always like
Oh,
£50 or whatever. So
oh,
I
that
was like,
Atlas just wanted to take all your money.
yeah, so I was like them. So onto other games. Marcus, thank you so much for that question. I will I'll add that to the, when we go on to like viewer questions very soon. Do you game off stream?
Yes. I've actually been trying to do more of it off stream because a lot of times I'll end up just after I'm done with the stream, I'll, do my little night routine where like I give my cat his wet food because usually he's like, chop chop, let's go, and heat up my dinner and I'll be watching like a TV show of some sort. But usually after that, I've been instead of like just finding myself vegging on the couch for a lot longer, if I still want to give myself that night of just relaxing, it's nice to kind of boot up a game and just kind of do something a little bit more
Mm.
interactive. So I've been doing trying to catch up a lot on Final Fantasy 14
Yeah.
since I'm still very early
Oh
in
god,
the
where are you in it?
still in A Realm Reborn, which I know is very early and very
Just
very
wait till.
bad.
Yeah. What have you like what level quests are you doing? Just to know where you are.
I'm level 46 now, so
Okay, yeah. I was talking to Ed, he's currently in the bit between A Realm Reborn and the first expansion.
Okay.
And I don't think he realized there were 80 quests between those two. So it's a slog.
We'll get there.
Yeah, it is a slog, but honestly, it's worth it. And like Heaven's Ward will come, is great. Then Stormblood, also very good, and then Shadowbringers is just one of the best Final Fantasy stories.
I've heard, so I'm really excited to get there.
It's brilliant. It's worth it. It's worth the... Yeah, I put like 650 hours into that game before getting there. So, what game are you looking forward to playing or streaming this year?
Very obviously Resident Evil Village, because I love the Resident Evil series. But other than that, I know they announced, what is it, the Evil Dead game?
Okay.
And what's funny is, like, I was, knowing what the gameplay is going to be like, part of me is like, I would never, like, actually think about streaming a game like this. But it caught my eyes so well. And because I know it's going to be so ridiculous, campy horror, I'm like, I can't not at least stream this once.
Campy horror sounds. Yeah. Stream.
It's just, it's ridiculous. And honestly, the gays love it. Like, the more silly that, like, all this really spooky stuff is, like, the more that we're just going to, like, think it's ridiculous and have fun with it.
Evil Dead, I'll have to look out for that one. Did you play any of Evil Within? I feel like I would have enjoyed that.
So I played the first one for a little bit, and I remember people saying, like, oh, this is such a good horror game, and, like, just really just so stellar. And I, like, played like an hour of it, and I'm like, I am not intrigued.
No.
I do not care.
I've heard the second one's a lot better, but
that's what I've heard too, yeah.
I don't know whether I will look into that or not.
Yeah, I might just, like, read a little story synopsis of the first one and then jump into the second one.
Yeah, I think that might be a good idea. What about, like, the Zeldas and stuff like that coming out? Have you played Breath of the Wild? Are you a fan?
I love Breath of the Wild. It took me a little while to get into it, though, because even though I felt like open world was such a natural progression for Zelda, I didn't... it was... Theory and practice felt different for me when I was playing it.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was in there, I was like, oh my God, this is so... There's such a long time between this main story part to this main... You'll come to know that I'm very much about, like, the main stories of things. So oftentimes that's what drives me to get through a game. So navigating from main story objective to main story objective felt so long, to the point where, like, it wasn't until, like, some of the more intriguing parts of the story came in that I felt myself more motivated to play it. Yeah.
Did you play any of the DLC? Because that would give a bit more, like, stuff to do, didn't it?
I didn't yet, but I didn't have a Switch when Breath of the Wild first came out, so I had it on my Wii U, which I don't have anymore. So I would have to completely play through Breath of the Wild again to do it.
Yeah.
Which, maybe?
Yeah, is hard mode unlocked from the beginning?
I don't think so. I'm not sure, though.
Or maybe, I think that was added with DLC, but I don't know if it's from the beginning. You might be able to, but yeah, hard mode's a different game. It feels very different.
Yeah, for sure.
What was your game of the year for last year? Did you have one?
I mean, I have to say Final Fantasy VII Remake. Like, I think it did so many things well, especially for someone who grew up with so many RPGs, that it felt so new, while also bringing in a lot of those things I remember from when I first played the game.
Yeah, and did you play the original, like, from start to finish when you were younger?
I even, like, for those who sunk so many hours in it, like, I also did the whole, like, Golden Chocobo side quest to go get the all-powerful Knights of the Round materia. Like, I sunk some hours into that game.
Yeah. Did you play that after 8 then, I'm guessing, with obviously 8 being your first?
No, what's funny is actually, like, I never actually finished 8. And then what's funny is I was one of those kids that didn't have a memory card for some reason.
Okay.
Like, I think it's because I didn't quite understand how they worked, and also my mom, like, when she got the PlayStation, didn't quite know, that you needed a memory card too.
Yeah.
So we both were just kind of stumbling through this, and it wasn't until, like, I was like, "Oh, Mom, I think I need a memory card." I got one for like $3, and that was fine. Finally was able to get through them.
Memory cards, God, I remember those. We're currently about 23 nautical miles from Amasya in
Ooh.
Turkey. It looks beautiful as well. Like on Google
my
Google Images,
gosh.
that is stunning. So I'm going to go and quickly do one more question before going on to ones from the community. There is a bit of time we've got when we land as well, but
Okay.
what are your plans for the future? Do you have any goals? Do you set yourself goals or just have fun?
My goal is always just to keep growing, to keep figuring out how to have new ways to have fun with my content, new ways to bring content that the community is interested in. But challenging myself to do things that I may not have wanted to do because I felt like I was too small or um, because I felt like I didn't necessarily have the skill set yet. Like I think it'd be nice to be able to create something that does help me engage more, like a more regular segment, kind of like what you're doing here with Jetstreamers.
Oh,
A more regular segment where I can get involved with the greater Twitch community and have either important conversations or fun conversations.
I didn't actually include any questions about it, but you are so obviously you're a fellow member of Rainbow Arcade. I don't think I've even mentioned that so
That's
far.
me.
You're also in the Plant Army. Are you a team leader
Yeah.
in there as well? And with those two, like, how have you been able to? How have you found being a part of those two stream teams as as a way of interacting and
What's
finding new
been
people?
nice about it is because being a leader for Plant Army, and the team itself is founded on inclusivity and building community. And I think a lot of people on the Rainbow Arcade, what's been nice is that they're all pretty similar. So what's been nice about being the leader for one team as being a participant of the other, it's been nice to have that leadership experience and seeing how like Rainbow Arcade is doing a lot of things that I already kind of stood for as a leader. So it's kind of been like, oh great, it's like it's nice to be in this team that already is doing the things that I wanted to get out of a team. But then being a leader for a team has been great because it's nice to be able to gain that experience, and it's almost humbling to see that like people like actually will look to you for like if they're confused about something or like how to grow a community.
Mm.
It's nice to feel like what I have been doing since the start of being on Twitch has gotten me somewhere that I can feel confident in what I've been doing.
Brilliant. Yeah, I imagine. I don't know too much about Plant Army. I'll have to have a look into that.
Yeah, definitely. The streamers that we look for mostly and what we consist of are people who are inclusive, standing up for LGBTQIA rights, standing against racism. Um, we look for people who are usually very community oriented, like usually chatting more often than not,
Mm.
and just people who are usually more on the positive side.
Okay. Well, let's go to get some. Let's go to the community questions as we begin to make our way. This is
Ooh,
kind of the tense moment as we slowly bank around. I hope your seatbelt's on because do go some angles here. Uh-oh. Yeah, this is...
strapped in.
Oh, dear. Right. Okay. Hopefully we're able to concentrate for this one because, yeah, this is a... well, the red means... The red on the approach means that it's either too fast or too slow. Usually one of the
Oh,
two.
okay. Oh, it's very red.
It's a lot of... At the moment, it's very rare. We're not entering just yet, but
Okay.
yeah, hold on to your seats. It might get bumpy. And that's not just the graphics. It's stressing.
Oh,
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why this is going to be the last one for a while. Is like the new PC is on its way, so
holding.
we know there will not be any crashing. Well, as in software crashing. The
Oh,
actual flight. That nothing happens with the new PC. That will be exactly the same. Okay, having a look. So we had a question. This is from Gemma, who says, I know Jeff is a writer and a streamer. I think of streaming as something that requires a lot of externally focused energy, and writing as something that needs more internally focused energy or solo time. How does it balance the two? Do you find it a challenge? And what advice would you give for folks trying to balance the two?
I would. There is definitely that balance. I think with streaming, there's a lot of there is some creative energy that goes into it, but definitely it's more it's more kind of like being socially on and more being aware of what's going on and trying to like have your headspace in so many different areas. Um, so it's draining in a different sense, I guess. Not
Okay.
draining like in a bad way, but like definitely like the way you use your energy. Um, so definitely balancing that with writing is tricky because I think after a stream, like you can sometimes feel physically exhausted from that. Um, and it can be tough to kind of like recenter yourself and just like be in your own headspace after that. So it is definitely tough to balance, but I think, um, yeah, it really just comes down to like disciplining myself to just like sit there and kind of actually block more things out rather than having my head in so many different spaces.
Yeah. And a question that was from Marcus earlier, I should probably ask you this at the very beginning. Which, as somebody on the non-binary scale, what pronouns do you prefer to be used?
So I go by he, him, or they, them. I know a lot of people will go with they, them. And I usually, if people like hard ask for like a preference, I will say they, them.
Okay.
I know I look like a man. So like if somebody says he, him to me, I don't feel dysphoric about that. Um, so if someone does refer to me as he, I'm not, it's fine. Pronouns are not so much of a concern to me personally, as much as, you know, how you actually know me as a person and how I explain how my gender identity actually is, where I just don't really identify with either masculinity or femininity.
Okay. No, interesting. So there we know. There you go. You can actually, like I said, I should have probably done this right at the very beginning.
No, you're fine.
But I was, yeah, by the way, as we were entering the approach to landing, it said too slow. So
Too slow.
I think when you flying too slow is probably worse than too fast. So
I would imagine. I don't think I've ever seen that problem before.
welp. And
Wow.
Dominion, I think, who knows about flying, says you should be going around about 130, and we're currently at 120. So,
Okay.
well, we're not too far from the ground. I think if you want to go for a little walk again. Osagi-chan in the chat said, well, in the Discord earlier, said, what game or games can they play over and over again and never get tired of it?
Ooh. I honestly think it's probably Until Dawn.
Yeah.
I now played that one 3 times, and honestly, like if someone is like want to play Until Dawn, I'd be like, let's go. Because even though like I know what's gonna happen, like it's just the amount of like different things that can happen, and just like the tension that it builds is so great.
Are there any, like, is that the game that you go for? Because sometimes, do you ever just go onto a Twitch directory and look for some people playing a specific game just because you want to either feel like nostalgia or you just love a game?
I don't usually look for them, but I notice if there are people that I'm following that play a game that like either I enjoyed myself or just really, really like watching people's reaction to, like I'll click on that immediately.
Yeah. Interesting. Usagi also says, what game or games do you hate and you'll never play again? And kind of linked to that, have you ever stopped playing a game because it was so bad and you just couldn't play it anymore? Or stopped streaming, maybe it was inappropriate?
I'm trying to think of games that I felt like that. I don't know that there was a game that I had to like legitimately stop playing, because like I think it was more it wasn't for me kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Like because people had said it was really good and I just couldn't get into it, where I've had to stop streaming a game. But I think a game, so this is going to be slightly controversial, but like the game that I know I could never ever play again, even though I love watching people play it, the Danganronpa games.
Yeah.
Because the games were so ridiculous, so just out of left field with so many things, that I will never touch them again.
No.
I love watching people play them. I think they're a wonderful experience to see people go through, but I would never spend that many hours on that series again.
How many hours did you put in?
Well, each game is about 20 to 25 hours, because they're all visual novels.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of reading, and then a lot of like logic and like mind puzzles that you had to do.
We're too slow again. Damn it.
Oh.
Actually, speaking of Vita games, that was another Vita game I played, was Trigger Happy Havoc. I had no idea what I was doing, but it was quite fun. But yeah.
It's an experience.
Really
That's how I describe them.
Really, really is. And he says, is there any game you think definitely needs a sequel?
Hmm. Not that I can think of off the top of my head. There was never really like a game where I'm like, I would love to see more of this. Most of the games I have ended up playing that like have a full complete story, I'm kind of like, I can see it just ending there and that'd be okay. There's like other content I might enjoy like getting a deeper dive into, like if they were to throw in DLC of like a backstory for a character,
Yeah.
sure. But I don't know if there's been a game where I'm like, I need to see more of this.
Here we go. We're about to land in
Oh my
Amasya.
goodness.
And oh, we're drifting a bit. It must be a bit windy, I think. We'll aim for the runway this time.
Mother Nature says, have fun. Have fun getting under this runway.
Brace, brace. Every single time we land, we have to brace. Oh, there we go.
Holding.
Luckily, I think
Clenching.
it's a long one. It's a long runway. Yay!
Ooh, I think you're gonna make
we're
it.
taking off again. There
Oh,
we
wait,
go.
again?
Second time lucky. You know, it was
Oh,
such
we
a smooth.
bounced.
It was such a smooth landing. I thought we'd do 2 of them.
Why not? Try it again.
Try a second one. There we go. Look, we are slowing down.
Oh, beautiful.
We've survived. We have survived. Loved one's passed out.
Oh, no.
This doesn't
Oh,
look
no.
right. My spine. Luckily, it was
Get
very
it together.
comfy. Well, there we go. We survived.
We did it.
Yay! It's like one of the, yeah, what's it called? Ryanair, where they all applaud at the end because they're
Oh, my God.
those flights.
Every time that happens, I'm like, no.
Thanks for not killing all of us.
Thanks for not, crashing.
Yeah. Got just a few more questions as we taxi on down to where we need to park. What are things that you do to prioritize or maintain your own mental health while maintaining a public face in spaces that have the potential to be mentally draining and toxic? And do you have any advice? Because I think some people will definitely appreciate advice.
Oh, yeah. Definitely what helps for me, I think a lot of streamers would talk about this too, is if you stream a lot of video games, definitely having games that you never stream, like keep off stream. Like, I want to say that Final Fantasy XIV is probably never something I'll stream just because it's so relaxing for me. Like, I'm straight up like, when I'm playing it, I'm like lean back, my legs up on my desk. Like, I am in like veg mode when I play it.
Oh, I have an attic
So-
upstairs that I just sit with. Yeah,
That's perfect.
brilliant.
But yeah, having types of games that you just have experiences with yourself rather than like needing to be on and sharing it with the community, I think is definitely super helpful as a streamer.
Definitely.
And having moments, like having a life and activities that you do outside of streaming, I think is amazing. I think is 100% something you got to do, because I find that when I start hyper focusing on things going around, like for me, it's my streaming career. If I start hyper focusing on the numbers and, the games we're doing and how many people showed up and whatnot, it tends to drain on my, on my self-worth. So, doing things like, baking, getting to just like create something that's not Twitch related that, I can just look at and be like, oh, I'm proud of that. Going out, right now in a pandemic, not as easy, but, having moments with friends where you just do something that's not related to streaming. Literally like just taking yourself out of the Twitch mindset and like doing something that's completely removed from that, I think helps me so much.
I agree. Totally agree with that. So yeah, I love it. Your little cat. Who's your cat?
That's Smokey. I didn't realize y'all were gonna hear his meow.
Oh, that's sweet.
He's a sweet boy. He does this thing where he sits here and just stares at me for the longest time before he decides that, okay, I'll jump up now. So
Aw.
he'll be up here in a minute probably.
Atty doesn't even do that. It just barks. Like, get me up.
There we go.
There we are.
There he is.
There's Smokey.
The baby.
Oh, adorable. Adorable. Pets are the real stars of Twitch, Jinx. You're completely
truly.
right.
Oh, truly.
It's like Atty. Although today, like if I'm using mouse and keyboard, Atty's now decided that when he's sitting on my knee, if I'm using a mouse and keyboard, he like taps my arm to be like, no, use that arm to wrap around me and give me a hug.
That's my arm.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Just
for me.
like that. Okay, 2 more questions.
Okay.
The little ones. Who is your favorite Sailor Scout?
Okay. I always say it's between Sailor Venus and Sailor Pluto. But I think it's always gonna have to go to Sailor Pluto because she has a very queenly personality, and she's very regal, and I look at that and I'm like, that's how I want to be.
And the second question, will Jeff be doing more cosplay?
I would like to. I think in my wildest of dreams, it'd be cool to do like a gender bent version of Meg from Hades, which I would include painting my face blue. So and I suppose part of my arms blue too. I don't know what I'd have to do for that, but I think that even if it's just like a Meg face makeup.
Get in touch with Sierra, see what they use.
Already asked, and
yeah.
they gave me everything I need.
Brilliant. I have no idea how to turn this plane off, by the way. I think the inside of this plane is different from the one I normally use. So yeah, I have no idea how to actually turn it off.
They gave you a whole new plane.
They did.
To go with. And they just said had fun.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to, but I do know like the buttons to actually turn it off.
Good.
Just leave it running. Eventually it'll run out of gas.
It's for the next person to worry about.
Whoever goes in next. But yeah, this plane is just on forever. Just press the eject button. I already did. That's why we lost Jeff.
I know. I had to find my way back. You know?
Yeah. Okay. Well, Jeff, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you, and I really, really hope we do get to have you on again, and maybe when we start doing some panels. Because
yeah, for sure.
Eventually, when we finally get to the US, I'm getting like a little crappy plane, that will take a long time going over there and mix it up a lot. So we'd definitely love to have you back.
Oh, that would be wonderful.
That'll be fun, and especially on a brand new PC with a 3080 graphics card. It's going to be... We'll actually be able to have clouds, because you might have noticed that it's always during the middle of the day, and it's also without clouds. So being able to add those stuff to the flights is just going to be breathtaking.
Oh yeah, that'd be so stunning.
Rain and things like that could be real. Oh my god, me flying this live without with weather effects and cloud, maybe at night and stuff.
It'll be a whole new journey that we're all very excited to see.
Maybe we'll get that first crash. All right, so Jeff, how do we find you? How can people find you if they're just listening to this?
You can find me at JeffBrutlag anywhere. I have a website, JeffBrutlag.com. I'm on Twitter at JeffBrutlag. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, Twitch.
I hear you had a TikTok that got like 1 million views.
There was an Among Us clip that I posted that got 1 million. And then the other one that got the most plays was one where I was just like, being gay, amazing. Liking men. And that one has like over 160,000 now.
Amazing. Yeah. And when is your next stream? Or when do you stream?
I normally stream Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays at 1 p.m. Mountain, 12 p.m. Pacific. So that'll be today. And every once in a while, I do some bonus streams if people ask me to be part of things. So keep an eye out on my Twitter for that.
Brilliant. I'm so jealous you get Jeff Brutlag on all platforms. So lucky.
One day, Biggest Menace will be on all platforms too.
Well, that one person that hasn't logged into twitter.com/biggestmenace in 10 years, one day they'll have their account taken.
One day.
I'm hoping. I know that's what they did with Tumblr. They started retiring loads of accounts that people haven't logged into, or like the names of it, or then just putting a generic name. And I'm just like, well, can Twitter do that? Please?
I think if you contact support, they might help you out.
I've tried. They're just gross. Like, nope, they haven't logged on, I know, and they don't follow a single person in 10 years, but, we need that.
We need them to keep it.
Yeah. All right, well, Jeff, thank you so much.
Thank you again.
It's been great getting to know you, and I know a lot of people from my community know you as well, and we share a bunch of people in it. It's nice to finally, to meet somebody who's so much in common as well. Like, this has been quite a wild revelation.
It's been an experience, and if we ever meet in person, the world will surely implode.
Exactly. Hopefully TwitchCon, well, I don't know whether it'll be this year or definitely next year, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, I won't make any promises or book any flights.
Right.
But yeah, thank you so much.